Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. For this cardigan, we've got a lovely display of chains. So this is up our sleeve. We got the chains in here, and then we got the chains that we use to connect the front and the back panel. So let's go ahead and let's talk about what you're going to need. Get that out of the way. Okay, you're going to need yarn, obviously. I used Red Heart Super Saver Ombre in the color Scuba. You're going to need a couple stitch markers, which, you don't have to have stitch markers. You can just use a piece of yarn and tie it to where we were marking everything. You're going to need a 5mm hook and scissors and your needle to weave in your ends. Now, and you're also going to need, optional, up to you, an iron with a steam setting. You don't have to use that. I used it just to break up or to loosen up those stitches we're going to sew the squares together with. Let's talk about yarn. Now, I used 4 skeins of this ombre, but I picked through the second, most of the third, and I used up a little bit of this fourth. Like, this is what's left of my second and third skein, but I used a bunch out of the fourth skein. So if you're gonna use an ombre, I would go ahead and get 4 skeins just so you can color, pick your colors and kind of have it lined up like mine is a little bit. Mine isn't the greatest, but also if I knew then what I know now, I would not have done this in an ombre. I would have done this in a solid color. Just because, I mean, look how much yarn I kind of wasted, picking through it to try to get my colors to match up. But, yeah, I definitely would have done a solid color. Anyway, get all your supplies together. And, oh, real quick, if you have any questions with this at all, my email is in the description box. Send me an email and ask me questions, and I will be more than happy to help you guys out. But get your supplies together. Oh, and another supply you're going to need is a t-shirt, a baggy t-shirt, or a normal fitting t-shirt. However you guys want your cardigan sized, that's the t-shirt you want. Like, I didn't want a t-shirt that was like skin tight to me. Like, I wanted one that was a little bit baggier. And that's how this cardigan is going to be fitted, for everybody's own size. But anyhow, get that all together and let's get started. Alrighty, to get started, get your slip knot on your hook. And we're going to start with a chain of 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Slip stitch to your first chain to close the ring. Chain 1. And then working over our tail, we're going to work 20 double crochet into our ring. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So go ahead and work your 20. You're going to have to keep scooching these over to be able to get all 20 in there. But go ahead and get your 20 and I'll meet you back. Okay, I have 17, so a few more to go. 18, 19, and 20. So we're going to slip stitch to the top of our first. and pull up a loop. Now I'm going to go ahead and stop and weave in our tail. Get my needle. So if you notice, our tail worked around this way and it's coming out, you know, in this direction. So that's the way we're going to pull it. And it's not going to completely close. We're going to do that with our needle. Weave in. Okay. So like I said, see how it's coming out this way? So we're going to run it around under the legs of these doubles. See how it closed it? I'm going to go ahead and keep going around though. And there. I'm going to go ahead and snip that off. Okay, now we're going to move on to round 2. So what we're going to do is we're going to chain 1, and then we're going to work a double right back into there. And chain 1, double into the next, and chain 1, double in the next, chain 1. So that's what, did I chain? Yeah, that looks weird. That's what we're going to work all the way around. Work a double into each stitch and chain 1. So double, chain 1, double, chain 1, double, chain 1, double, chain 1. Work that all around and I'll meet you back here at the beginning. Okay, so I made it around. I have one more double to work right here. And don't forget your chain 1 at the end. And then we're going to slip stitch to our first. So we have our slip stitch right there, chain 1, and our first double. So we're going to slip stitch into there. And that's the end of round 2. So you should still have 20 doubles and 20 chain 1 spaces. So moving on to round 3, we're going to chain, no, we're not going to chain, I'm sorry. So we slip stitch to the first of our double, and we're just going to go right into that chain space, that first chain space, and slip stitch. Chain 1, and go right in there with a single. So this is optional, you don't have to, but I'm going to use a stitch marker to mark that beginning single crochet, just because after you work this a couple times, if you don't mark it, it gets a little confusing to see, to see after we've worked around to see where our beginning is. Okay, so now we're going to chain 3. Now, usually whenever I chain, I don't chain super tight. I just chain, tight enough to work into that. But for this, we're not working into the chain. We're just going to be working around the chain. So I'm going to chain 3 a little on the tighter side. So we've got our single, now chain 3, and we're going to come into this next chain 1 space, and we're going to work a single. Chain 3, 1, 2, 3, single into the next chain space. 1, 2, 3, single into the next. And we're going to work this all around. 1, 2, 3, single into the next. 1, 2, 3, single into the next chain space. 1, 2, 3, single into the next. 1, 2, 3, single into the next. So go ahead and continue working this around, and I'll meet you guys at the beginning. Okay, so I've made it back around. I have one more chain space to work into, so I got chain 3, 1, 2, 3, single crochet into your last chain 1 space, and now don't forget, chain 3, 2, 3 to finish off the round. So now what we're going to do is we're going to slip stitch right into that first single where our stitch marker was. Slip stitch. Now we're going to come right into this first chain 3 space and slip stitch again. Now we're going to chain 1 and work a single right back into there. I'm going to mark. Now we're just going to do the same thing we did. Chain 3, 1, 2, 3, single crochet into our chain 3, chain 3, 2, 3, single crochet into our next chain 3, chain 3, single crochet into our next chain 3 space. And we're just going to keep doing that all the way around. Can you see how you can kind of get lost into the beginning and the end without that stitch marker or your piece of yarn you run through there or what have you? But anyhow, keep working this around and I'll meet you back at the beginning. Okay, I've come back to the beginning. Single crocheted in my second to last chain 3 space. So now I'm going to chain 3, single crochet into the last one, and chain 3. And now I'm going to slip stitch to that single crochet I got marked there. And if you don't have a marker or anything, I wanted to show you how you can see what we've got right here. So right here we've got our first slip stitch. Right here we've got our second slip stitch. So this is the slip stitch that we slip stitched to the first single crochet of the round. And here's the slip stitch where we came across and went straight into that chain 3 space. Here's our chain 1, and here's our first single. So right into the top is where we're going to slip stitch. I just wanted to show you guys that in case, you know, somebody doesn't have a way to mark your rounds. Okay, so that was 1, 2, 3, 4. So we're going to work one more round with the chain 3. So I slip stitched to my first single. So now I'm going to slip stitch into that chain 3, chain 1, and go right back in with a single. Now I'm going to mark it. Okay, so we're just going to keep continuing. Chain 3, lost control of that one. 2, 3, single crochet into our chain space, chain 3, single crochet into our chain space, chain 3. So we're going to just work that around just like the last 2 rounds. 2, 3. So go ahead and repeat this around and I'll meet you back at the beginning. I'll be right back. Alright, so I've made it back around, and I forgot to mention this earlier. You're always going to have 20 chain 3 spaces and 20 singles. Let's see, what round are we on? We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So to end round 5, I've worked my last single, chain 3, and we're going to slip stitch to the top of our single. We're going to slip stitch right into that chain space, chain 1, and work our single. Now the only difference with this round, which is round 6, and for round 7 and 8, we're going to be chaining 4 instead of 3. That's the only difference. Sorry. So we're just going to chain 1, 2, 3, and 4, and just single crochet into our chain space. 1, 2, 3, 4, single crochet into the chain. 1, 2, 3, 4, So go ahead and repeat that around. And I'm going to stick with you. I'm going to go ahead and at the end of, this is round 6, and then 7 and 8. So I'm going to go ahead, get your round finished, and I'll meet you at the beginning. Okay, so to end it, to finish round 6, we're going to do the same thing. Slip stitch. I got my last chain space. Slip stitch to our first single. Slip stitch into the chain, chain 1, and single. Now we're just going to start all over again. Mark that with a chain 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, and a single. 1, 2, 3, 4, and a single. 1, 2, 3, 4, and a single. So this is round 7, so go ahead and finish up this, and I'll meet you back here. Okay, so to end round 7, do the same thing we have been. Slip stitch into our first single, slip stitch into the chain, chain 1, single, and this is our last round. Get the stitch marker out of my mouth. This is the last round of chains we're going to do. So we're just going to mark that. So you're going to do the same thing. Chain 4, single, chain 4, single, all the way around, and I'll meet you back at the beginning. And we're going to start row 9. Alrighty, so I'm coming to the end of round 8. I got to work my chain 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Slip stitch to our beginning single, and we're going to go ahead and slip stitch into this chain space. And to start round 9, we're done with our chain rounds. So round 9, we're going to start with 2 chains, and we're going to work 7 treble crochet into there. So yarn over twice, go in, pull through 2, pull through 2, pull through 2. Now if you want to, you can go ahead and mark your first treble, because here's our slip stitch, chain 1, chain 2, the top of our first treble, or triple, whatever you call them. So that's 1, and we need 7. So here's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Oh, come on. 7. Okay, so now into this next chain space, we're going to work 4 double crochets. So yarn over, 1, 2, 3, and 4. So now into this single crochet right here, we're going to work 1 half double right into the top of it. You can kind of see it when you pull it apart, the top of your single. So we're going to yarn over right in the top there and work our half double. Now into this chain space, we're going to work 3 singles. So 1, 2, 3. So now into this single, we're going to work 1 single. Into this chain space, we're going to work. So let me take a minute to explain what we're doing. So here's our corner, and we're going to work from corner to corner, but with a circle that can't be just a straight, you know what I mean, like a straight group of stitches across. We have to taper down. So that's why we start with the tallest stitch to the second tallest, the next, and so forth. So it starts with 7 treble, 4 double, a little half into our single, 3 single, and I like to say the single into the single is where we start, you know, we flip it. So since we, you know, worked 3 single and then our single crochet, there's our middle point. So now we're doing the opposite. 3 single, 1 half double, 4 double, 7 treble. I hope that makes sense. It's kind of hard to explain. Okay, so we worked our single into the top of our single. So now we're reversing what we just did. So from here to here, we ended with a single. Now from here to here, we're starting with the singles. So 3 single into the next chain space. 1, 2, 3. So now we work our half double into the single. And now our 4 double into the next chain space. 1, 2, 3, and 4. So now we're back to our 7 trebles, which is our second corner. So here's our first corner, then the 7 trebles is our second corner. So yarn over twice, go in, pull up a loop, pull through 2, pull through 2, pull through 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, one more, and 7. Okay, so what comes next? Our 4 doubles in there. Yarn over, 1, 2, 3, oops, lost that, and 4. So now we've got our 7, 4. Now we're going to go to a smaller stitch, which was our half double into the single. So half double into that single crochet. And now we're coming into this chain space with 3 single. 1, 2, and 3. So now we're at the middle point, a single into that single. And now we're reversing what we did. So we ended with 3 single on this side, did our middle point. Now we're reversing. We're building up to our point. It starts with 3 single, 2, 3, half double into our single, 4 double into this chain space. I said that weird. 1, 2, 3, and 4. So now we're to our next corner, so we work 7 treble into here. So yarn over twice. 1, 2, 3. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So I'm going to go ahead and let you guys finish this. I hope, you know, you have an understanding of what what comes next. So I'm going to just go ahead and show you. So we've got our 7 double. So we work 4 double into here, 1 half double, 3 single. Here's your middle point. Remember, our 3 single. So then our 1 single into the single right there. Now we're reversing it. 3 single, 1 half double, 4 double, and here's our third corner, or fourth, I mean, 4, or 7 trebles. Then we're going to turn, 4 double, 1 half double, 3 single, a single into our single, 3 single, 1 half double, and to finish it off, 4 doubles. And then we're going to slip stitch to our first treble. So go ahead and work that the rest of the way around our circle, turning our circle into a square. So I'm going to do this off camera, and I will meet you guys back at the slip stitch. Okay, so I've made it around to the beginning. Got my 4 double. So now I'm just going to slip stitch into that first treble. Don't focus on the background. Slip stitch into that first treble. And now for round 10 and our last round, we're going to chain 1, and we're going to work a double into all the stitches around, except, so we have 1, 2, 3, into the top of the 4th treble on every corner, we're going to work 5 doubles. So that's 1, 2, 3, and into the 4th, 1, 2, 3, into the top of our 4th, 5 doubles. 1, 2, 3, 4, scooch, and 5. Now just 1 double across in each stitch. I'm going to stick with you on this because I do want to show you that once we get to the trebles and singles, I don't want you to get lost on those. Keep working, working, working. So this one kind of looks funny, but that's our single right there. So get in there, all your singles across. Keep going. And you can kind of tell whenever you're getting to your trebles when you need to start paying attention to which one you're into, because the tops are just a little bit bigger. So that's 1, 2, 3, and into the 4th, we're working 5. 2, 3, scooch, 4, and 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Into the 1, 2, 3, 4th treble. Okay, so go ahead and keep working this around, making sure you work 5 into the 4th treble, and keep working around, and I'll meet you guys at the beginning. Okay, so I've made it all the way back around, and to finish off our square, we're going to slip stitch to our first double. So here's our slip stitch, our chain 1, and our first double. Slip stitch to that, chain 1, pull up a loop, and cut. And I'm going to go ahead and show you guys how I weave this in so it's not distorting our square. Find my needle. Get that on. Okay. Make sure I don't have anything in the background. Make sure it focuses. Alright. So what I'm going to do, so here's my knot. I'm going to run it through this loop and this loop. But I'm going to hold that knot so when I pull this tight, it's not going to distort our square too much. Okay. So now that I got my yarn coming down, I'm going to go across these stitches and then back and then back. So I'm going to hold it and run these through the legs of these double crochets. Still holding right here, I'm going to pull this through. And the reason I'm holding this is because I don't want to accidentally over pull and then I have a huge gap right here from weaving in my end. Same thing with this side. So I've come out over here. I'm going to skip this first loop right here and come under this one and work my way back across these legs. I'm actually going to go ahead and show you guys what I'm trying to prevent. So when I pull this through and I don't hold, see how that hole it leaves? I don't want that. So to fix that, I'm going to pull it a little, and I can see right here is where the yarn comes back. So I'm going to pull that out. There. So it kind of closed the hole. If you guys can hear that, that's my cat meowing. Okay, so load this back up. Alright, now I'm going to come back this way, and I'm going to skip this first leg right here. Come through here. Fuzzy butt. Come across. And I'm going to hold right here so it doesn't get pulled out of place. And I'm going to go one more time. Skipping the loop. Working back this way. Hold it. And now I'm going to snip. And there you go. There is your square for the cardigan. Okay, now we're going to talk about how many squares you're going to need to personalize this to your specific size, whichever size it'll be. All right, I'll be right back and we're going to talk about that. Okay, so now you know how to make your squares. Now we're going to figure out how many squares you're going to need for your size. So this is where our shirt comes in. So this is, I got my shirt laid out flat, and I make sure your shirt is a little bigger, than a t-shirt that, you'd wear. My size is one size bigger, and I like the way this fits. It's a little baggy, it's comfortable. Now, if you want your cardigan to be, a little on the tighter side, then get you a t-shirt that fits you great. Anyhow, so we got that. I got my t-shirt laid out. So here's how I come up with the square count. Okay, so I know I'm going to need at least 3 squares across. Now I know that's going to give us a little bit of space at the end, but we're going to take care of that. So my squares, to fit my size of, t-shirt, I need 3. Having said that, I want mine to come down a little bit farther so I can get 4 squares up. Because this t-shirt fits decently like right at the top of my hips, which I want that to come down a little bit. So I'm going to go 3 wide. Watch out, Fuzzy. And I'm going to go 4 up. Okay. So there's my 4 up. Finish this. Actually, I want a darker one right there. That looks better. Move. Okay, so here's my back panel. Now, your back panel, may only be 2 squares across, and that's fine. Or you might have 4 squares across, and that's fine too. And if you only have 2 squares on your back panel, don't worry about the sides. We're going to take care of that. We're going to do a lacy stitch up the sides. Okay, so now for your front panels. Now, if you have an even number for your back panels, 2, 4, 6, whatever, the front panels are going to be easy because you need two squares for each side of our front. But since I have 3, I'm going to have one square, one width of a square, 4 squares. So if you have, 2 squares for your back panel, but you only have 3 for your back, then you're going to need 1, 2, 3 for your front panel. But since mine is 4 for my front panel, and you're going to need your left and your right front panel. So my front panel is going to be, I'm running out of squares. So here's one front panel. So there's my one front panel, and then here's my here's my left front panel, and here's my right front panel. I'm going to switch these out. There. So, actually, I'm going to do this. Okay, so now, for my square count, I needed 20. So I have 4, 8, 12, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. So now it's just up to you guys to get your square count. So just get you a t-shirt that's either a little bit baggy or however you want your cardigan to fit. I don't want mine to be tight. And that's how you guys are going to come up with your square count. So like this is the space that's going to come around our hip to our side to the front. And we're going to do a lacy stitch up this side. So get your guys' square counts. Get your squares worked up and come back. And I'm going to show you guys how we're going to sew all these squares together.